Okay, where are we at? Introduction items. Is there a motion to introduce these 4 items?
Move introduction.
Second.
Moved and seconded?
If it's needed, yeah, second it.
All right, I just want to make sure on number 1 that people, again, understand that the deadline for the Planning Commission applications is December 1, not November 30th. All right, any discussion on introduction items? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those pass unanimously. Other committee reports, natural resources.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had an item this morning. It was a discussion regarding a proposed ordinance to establish a Whatcom County Comprehensive Water Advisory Committee. And the committee voted 3-0 to have the planning unit review the ordinance, proposed ordinance, as well as the organizations listed in the Exhibit B of the ordinance, and also to have our legislative analysts prioritize his work on our advisory committees to find similarities or overlaps that could exist with existing committees and this potential committee. That was a 3-0 vote, and if the clerk could give me a little guidance, I believe that stays in committee, so that's just a report.
I think there was something mentioned this morning about it coming back. I have it in my notes. Coming
There was
back
a motion
in February.
to come back in the first meeting in March, or
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
with the review. The
Yes.
comments from
So
the review.
that would be in natural resources.
Yes. So my question is, we don't need the full council to vote on that tonight.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's the report from Natural Resources.
Okay, any discussion of that? Anything else from any of the other committees that we haven't already talked about?
Would this be the right time to talk about the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force?
No, that's other items.
Oh, I apologize.
Committees, planning, finance, public works, nothing else? Okay, now is the proper time. Other items.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force, which has been meeting regularly, and I just want to say is one of the probably by far the best committee I've served on in terms of the size, the participation. Everybody's really sincere and engaged and knowledgeable and making a great contribution, and I think we're doing good work. There are a couple of, as the council member on the task force that we created, sometimes they ask me what I think the council thinks, and sometimes I have a good answer, and sometimes I say, I really need to go back for further guidance. And so I got a couple of things I just want to run by you. The first one is when we set out sort of the priorities for the task force, there's sort of this dual mandate of a triage crisis facility that we do, as well as this overall criminal justice program review, and what do we need, what can we be doing better, how can we reduce incarceration rates and help the mentally ill and the chemically addicted. And we said, give us a report on the triage center right away and kind of work on all the other stuff at the same time. Well, those two elements inform each other. And I mean, it's hard to come up with the triage facility and all its programming when we haven't done, finished our overall needs assessment or a review of all the programs that we already have in place. So I'm back here today to say, ask, how do you want us to handle that? My instinct is that we'll say, keep going on the triage facility. That is urgent, and we know we need it. And we have a lot of plans already in place for such a facility, and dust that off and get to work updating it. And if there are things that come up later in your overall comprehensive review, we can use that to fine tune the proposal later. But I want to get your take on that, and before I sort of come back with that, I want to make sure that is how you all see it.
Ms. Brenner?
Make sure I understand what you're asking.
Okay, that's fine, because that was pretty long-winded.
Yeah, you want the committee to get an update on triage, what we have, what we need, all that stuff.
This council said to the task force, give us a fairly robust report on a triage design and facility and programming in January 2016. I'm saying that report will be informed by, or that design could be informed by a lot of the other work that we're doing that goes on over the course of the next year, deadlines that are in November. So how should we proceed, since we don't know what we're going to know in November? How do you want us to prioritize the triage center now? Should we just make our best effort at it right now and fine tune it later, or do you want us to slow down the whole triage design and review?
Ms. Brenner.
Well, I would love to have a review of what we have, what's going on. And because it's like the triage doesn't seem to be really a triage at this point, but maybe it is. I'd love an update.
Okay, well, that actually plays right into my next point. Well done, Ms. Brenner. So the task force is going to give a report in January or possibly February. I mean, the holidays are coming up, and I don't want to guarantee that it's going to be back the first day after we get back from vacation, but we are going to have a report for you, and it will be a good report, I'm sure, and we can have it, we'll include, as you just requested, Ms. Brenner, an update on the status of the triage design and what all the other things that we've been working on the task force. I can give you updates if you have any specific questions. We've got subcommittees working on, one on triage, one on current services, one on needed services, and everybody's really engaged. We got everyone from the executive's office to the judges to the prosecutor to the sheriff and a lot of the nonprofits in town, and working very well together. So it is actually a very functional committee. I'm proud to report. Yeah, Ms. Brenner.
I would like an update of where we are, and then just a beginning of where we're, because I do think it's going to be kind of a sectional process where as we go along, we're going to get more updates on what needs to be done. I might be wrong, but that's what it seems like.
Well, there are 3 specific deadlines for reports laid out in our original ordinance.
Maybe we could have...
You want more than that?
Not necessarily, but I'd like to have like the beginning stuff first and not have it all at once. I'd like to see where we even are with the triage. Like, what are we doing with the building? Or is that going to be that building? Or
You mean the Division Street building?
Yeah. Or
okay.
What do you recommend? Maybe.
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah. Maybe by sometime in January.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from Ms. Brenner then is that, yes, continue prioritizing the triage facility, review, design, programming, location, cost, budget, benchmarks against national standards, and do that as soon as possible. Okay, that's what I expected. That's what I expected, but I wanted to make sure. I understand. Well, that's 2 of us.
And that's would be my emphasis too, to continue on the triage center, because I think that's a fairly well-designed facility that we know is needed. So let's put it in place. There's a little bit of confusion now because the triage center was somewhat dependent on the jail passing for that building to be able to be sold, to be used for, either the money or the building to be used for a triage center. So there may not be as much hurry, but we still need to figure out what it is we want as we move forward on the jail.
I agree. There's not as much hurry.
I think there's as much hurry. There's not the money to put into it at this point.
Well, I also felt like maybe our deadline of January was initially created because we wanted to sort of catch up to the extended design that had already been done on the jail complex. And I think, now that that's on hold, then we have a little bit more time to catch up. But I agree that is a priority. We've known it for a long time, and we're working on it.
Mr. Browne.
Now that there's a little less urgency on incorporating this information into the jail construction plan, obviously because of the failure of the tax to pass, if the task force feels it needs an extra month or so because of the holidays to come back to us, I'm very supportive of that.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to suggest that it's going to be tweaked later as well, because whatever new plan we come up with for the new jail, at whatever stage, because this will be part of that, because it has to jive with that plan and this plan. So you can let the committee know that it will need to be tweaked again.
Okay, good. So we won't be, I will return with that message, and we will continue working hard on that aspect of it. Thank you. Thank you for the guidance.
Do you need a resolution?
No.
Any other items? Reports from council members.
So I was reading an article about invasive species and the various different types of mussels and the problems with phosphorus and algae blooms and so forth. I wasn't reading it in the local newspaper. I was reading it in a paper from the middle of nowhere in South Dakota. So the reason I bring this up is... The reason I bring this up is because the problems that we're dealing with, unfortunately, are problems that appear to be across the whole country. And just a reminder that they are serious problems. They're not isolated ones to us. And the fact that we're being forced to spend money on these sort of issues is unfortunately just the way the world is at the moment. So.
Mr. Buchanan.
I'd like to echo the comments the executive made this morning with regard to the Whatcom Dispute Resolution Center's Peace Builder Awards on Friday night. I attended as well, and it was just great to see how many great things are happening in Whatcom County and the people involved that are behind the scenes doing all that work. And it was great to hear from them, and to also had a poetry contest that was really very, very interesting. A lot of young kids had entered that and were recognized. So, great event.
Mr. Mann.
Nothing to report.
I'd just like to say happy birthday to Councilmember Buchanan. He knows how to have a whale of a time on his birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Brenner.
Well, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Mr. Kremen.
I'm fine.
Mr. Sidhu.
Just happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? We're adjourned.